everybody, it's me, Nikki, and my squeaky chair, as always. And I'm here with a continuation of my series called Let's Talk About. And in this episode, we're going to talk about Roger the Chapman. I've talked about it a lot, I think, on my channel. So I thought I would deep dive into it. The whole series is by Kate Sedley. There are 22 books, but each book is 20 chapters, which is really nice. So the first book is Death and the Chapman, and this is where you meet Roger. It says young Roger, so I was going to say young Roger. This is like sort of before people really had like last names, because he starts out as the first chapter is like he's writing a diary, or he's just telling about his stories because he's older. So it starts off with him being at or he's wandering, because it's in every book who he says he is, and I believe in this one he starts to be called Roger Stone because his father was a stonemason, I think, but they start calling him Roger Chapman because that's his job, and that's how you get the last name Chapman, and I think that's really cool. So Roger was at a monastery, so he learned to read and write. I think his mom wanted him to be a priest, and he says quite plainly in a couple of books he's not sure he believes in God, or he's not a fan of the church type of thing. But he wanted to travel the world, England, and so he starts to be a chapman, and it's just basically a peddler. He has lace, silk, so he'll go to like London and pick up all the imports they get, and then he goes off into like little cities. I think Bristol is the main city at some point that he stays in. So yeah, he tells you about that pretty much every chapter. So it's easy. You can pick up book 22 or book 1, and you don't really like miss a lot. Like sometimes, because in this book is also when it starts, he says him and Richard III have the same birthday. So he's like sort of obsessed with Richard III, and he has adventures. Not with Richard, but like under Richard. So those are sometimes brought up, but they're not like in any great detail. He'll just be like, oh yeah, I did a thing with Richard III. And in one of the books, I think, because it's after Richard's dead, and is it Henry, I think it's Henry VII or Henry VIII is on the throne, and he's like bucking Tudors. So yeah, and he's just like wandering around, and he's smart because he can read and write, and people are always surprised, and he gets to go into houses basically like through the back door, saying like, look, I have shiny things, would you like to buy them? And usually the poor people will talk to him. And then when he's working for Richard, he says, I'm working for Richard. And that's usually how, like, the upper class can talk to him. And in this one, it's a wealthy alderman approaches him to find his missing son. And it's because Roger's really good at puzzles. And everybody's disappearing from the same inn. And like I said, Richard III's involved, his wife is involved, and I just remembered this is the first in technically like a trilogy, because I was going to bring them up later, but I'll do it now. There's The Weaver's Tale and The Weaver's Inheritance. I can speak. This was the first one I read, so it's like my favorite. And I knew that he obviously knew these people before and he'd done a thing, but it didn't bother me. So I believe I know it's in this one. I know it's in this one, and I might be in the other one, because when flipping through it, I saw the name Allison Weaver. So, they're sort of connected. Like, that's just the run through here. But we'll get to those two later. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read this one. So I don't remember all the details except for Richard III. And it is in the first person because he's like writing it down. But yes, this one is good. The next one is, this isn't the second one. This is the fourth one. Let me click on Death in the Chapman first. This is the fourth one, and I know I've talked about this before. Like, the ending really was a gut punch, and Roger's pretty naive, like, even in the later books. And that was one problem I did have with them. It's like book 22, and it's 1483, and Roger's been doing this for quite some time, and he's still... I mean, it's a nice character trait. He still wants to believe the best in people, but he does get taken advantage of a lot, specifically by women. Or I'll be reading it and I'll be like, Roger, should you trust this guy? And you should not trust that guy. So, that does get a little irritating. But it's probably supposed to be like a character flaw. The thing is, I basically read them all back to back to back to back. If I had read them from like, because this looks like they're published one every year or every couple years, it probably wouldn't have stuck out to me as much. So yeah, but this one was a real gut punch. Some of the other ones, they're not as gut punchy, but I'm like, wow, I'm really bad at mysteries. I think I talked about this before. I'm like suspicious of people, but I never know who the villain. One time I figured it out and I was like, oh my god. So yes, and then in one book, there's like a lot of winter books, and the books, like there's a book called Nine Men Dancing, and that's like a game you play with people in a pub, and they explain what that is. Or like, you know, the Green Man, they explain what the Green Man is, because Roger is more apt to believe in the mystical side of things, like the Green Man, rather than what the church thinks he should believe in. And he gains a wife. When does he gain a wife? Maybe in the Weaver's, maybe after the Weaver's Inheritance, because in the Weaver's Tale, he comes across, well, he is weak and exhausted, and so two kind women, Margaret Walker and her daughter Lilith, take him in and nurse him back, and him and Lilith have a relationship. I don't believe they might actually get married. They probably do, because it's the 1400s. And she winds up pregnant and has a little girl. But sadly, Lilith passes away because Roger's gone, and it's like in between books. And then, is it the Weaver's Inheritance? Yeah, Weaver's Inheritance. Margaret introduces him to Adela, who has a son, because her husband passed away. And then Adela and Roger do end up falling in love and getting married, and they have a baby of their, like, together. But he's away a lot, and in the later books, when it's more like Bristol based, she's like, I swear to God, if you leave again, I will murder you, type of stuff. And then in a book, I don't remember which one, he gets like an upper class house, and all of his like lower class friends are like mad at him, but he was just liked by this semi-rich woman who died and didn't have any family, so she gave the house to Roger and his family. So they're like in a very weird place in Bristol, because they're technically the lower class, but they live in the upper class neighborhood. And then, so let's go back to the Weaver's Tale. I cannot, like, Alison Weaver seems to be in the first one, and I believe it is the same one in here. So I don't know if it's like a technical sequel, but he knows the people. And where is it? See, I thought it was the Weaver from the first one, but it seems to be that a man was hanged for murder. And they didn't actually do anything, so it's up to Roger to figure it out, because it is a weaving town. Margaret is a weaver. So there's that one, and then this one is, because they're in the same place as these people, and then this one, his son is missing, and I believe Roger finds that he doesn't find the body per se, but I believe he figures out he's dead. And in this one, the guy shows up, and Roger's like, but I know you were dead. So now Roger's like, what the fuck is happening? So, and you know what? It does not end. Like, a lot of these, surprisingly, do not end happily. Like, you know what I mean? Roger solves the murders, but it's not always like, he doesn't feel great. Like this one, not really a happy ending. This one, I guess, is kind of happy, but not really. And then there's ones where it's just not... like, it's, I would say it's a cozy murder mystery, but it's not really, it doesn't have the cozy murder mystery ending. You know, there's some where he's more of a spy than an actual detective, I guess. You know, he's doing stuff for Richard, and I think he even goes to France at some point with them, and he's like, what am I doing? He's like, I don't know what's happening. And yeah, I do like the covers as well. Like, that's very distinctive. But then at some point they all become hardback, excuse me. And I like this one as well, because both of these, the whole story's sort of on it. Like, there's Roger and Margaret and Lilith. And this is, all this stuff that's on the cover happens in the book. So that's pretty cool. yeah, I just really like the series, and I wish more people like knew about it or talked about it. I mean, they're short books. They're not like, and I'm sure if you're smarter than me, you can figure this out. So maybe just don't read them back to back to back to back. I got all of mine off of thrift books, so they were pretty cheap. I bought them basically, like once I found thrift books had them, I'm like, well, guess what I'm buying for the rest of the year, and that's what I did. Let's see if I can find another book to talk about. Oh, I did talk about Nine Men Dancing. That one's pretty creepy actually, because he's in like this village, but it has dark secrets, and he's kind of freaked out by everybody. Like there's a young woman who's coming on to him essentially, and he's like, what is happening? And then there's like a guy that likes this young woman, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with it, and it's kind of creepy. Let's see what else. And you get a lot of history stuff as well, because I don't know if he knows his birthday, or his mom just said you're born on the same day as Richard III, or around the same time in the same year. I can't quite remember now. And he really likes Richard III even after everything. And he's there for it. He does the whole he watches King Edward the whatever turn from like a fit young man into like a sort of corpulent jerk. And the middle brother, Geoffrey, I think, he's sort of there when that happens, and he's there when Richard becomes Richard, and about the kids, and he's like, is he not? Are they not? He doesn't know what to do really, but in the end, he really does like Richard. And it ends with The Christmas Wassail, 1483. And that is the last book published in 2013. I don't know. Probably not going to write anymore. It's been quite some time. I'm not going to do the math on it. I think I read somewhere she was elderly. She was born in 1926. And she was born in Bristol, so that's probably why there's a lot of Bristol there. So, yeah, I'm sort of sad that that's the last one, but, it's a good series, and because I don't remember the first one, I get to reread it. I don't remember any of these. I've read them so long ago, but I will get to reread them someday, once I read all the books I have to read. So, that's that. I hope I explained that coherently and not just rambled about some of my favorite books and book series. Yeah, let me know if you have heard of them, if you want to check them out or whatever. And yeah, that's the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you're having a good day, and this will probably go up, no, and my birthday's on Sunday the 22nd, so I'm sort of like doing like videos. Maybe I'll put this up on a Thursday, because I have a Friday, Saturday video, and then I'll do a Sunday video. So, there you go. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day. Goodbye!